What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I just wanted to go through some of the stuff that went down on Twitter last week in the Battlefield community, as in general the Battlefield community is down bad at the moment, and there is actually a lot of stuff that kind of made that worse last week. And for those of you who aren't on Twitter, or maybe you guys just missed it, I wanted to kind of fill you guys in about that, as well as actually sort of talk about what I think they need to do from here, as like I said, the community is not in a very good state right now, and unfortunately these type of things do not fix themselves. Before we get into it, if you guys are new to the channel, then do consider subscribing and turning on those notifications. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. So like I said, on Twitter last week there was a little bit of drama in the Battlefield community, and it had kind of been building up for a while now. Obviously the launch of the game has not been fantastic, and then with the state of the game currently and then the devs going on holidays, it's obviously going to lead to a bit of frustration, because we're kind of all just waiting for the developers to get back to work and sort of get the game back on track. So it had all kind of been building up ever since the launch of the game, or even honestly before the launch of the game. And then to make things even worse, Andy McNamara, who is the global director of integrated comms for shooters at EA, he kind of had a little bit of a rant on Twitter last week, and it made things a hell of a lot worse. He tweeted out saying, "Back to work today, check Reddit and Twitter, and Battlefield fans are pissed that we didn't do enough updates or communication during the holiday break. Guys, people gotta rest. We have things in motion, but we have to figure out what is possible. We will address it when we're at 100%. Let us get back from break and get back to work. Love you guys, but these expectations are brutal. The things you want take time to scope, design, and execute." Now, while I do kind of see what Andy's getting at, I think he's talking about the people in the community that are sort of crying that they had a holiday. I do kind of agree with what he's saying there, that obviously they do deserve a break, but it kind of came across to a lot of people in the community when he said about the expectations being brutal, that he was just talking about the game in general, saying that, you know, us expecting a polished game at launch is brutal. I don't think that was what he was getting at, but that is how it came across, unfortunately. And while we do all make mistakes and, you know, none of us are perfect, you sort of just can't be tweeting out things like that that can be misconstrued by the community, because when we're already in a pretty rough situation and then you're tweeting things like that, even if you don't mean it in that way, that is never ever going to sit well with the community. And so, as I'm sure you guys can imagine, Twitter and Reddit went absolutely mental with these tweets, and overall it just caused a hell of a lot of drama. Now, a few hours later, he actually went on to say, "Well, apologies to all, just wanted to fill you in on why there weren't updates. I'll be more careful in the future. Happy New Year, Battlefield peeps." Now, that tweet right there is kind of what I mean in terms of, I think he was actually pointing at the fact that, you know, we're all talking about them not having holidays and stuff, and I think he was trying to explain that the expectations of continuing updates through Christmas was brutal, and I do agree with that. I think that they are, you know, they're entitled to a break, but like I said, he didn't really put it across that way in the first place, and unfortunately at this point the damage was done. It doesn't matter how much you apologize and, you know, try and correct what you've said. You've pissed off the community at that point, and it is just a pretty unfortunate situation that, you know, there's a big misunderstanding between these tweets and what the community sort of takes from it. And unfortunately, as much as, you know, we all make mistakes, and I don't think you should sort of define people by their mistakes, you do have to be better at that when it comes to tweeting out there in a community that is down bad at the moment. And so unfortunately Andy has no one to blame but himself for these tweets. Now, this just kind of kept going on, and this is what made it worse. I was actually kind of sympathetic to Andy at this point. I was kind of, you know, annoyed at what he'd said, but I could understand that he was just frustrated, and he kind of said, you know, it wasn't worded correctly, I guess you would say. But he keeps going on saying, you know, "So good to be back at work. I can just feel the love." That's kind of a sarcastic sort of piss take of the community. A little bit of a pity party, which, yeah, that's just never going to sit well either. So at this point, he's just digging his own grave even further. And then to finish it all off, he actually just said, "Deleted the tweet. Seems my message wasn't clear. Apologies." So it was a bit of a rough old rant there, and like I said, kind of at the start, I understood what he was saying, and I didn't really agree with it because it was kind of annoying to sort of just bother tweeting that stuff in general. But I could see what he was saying, but then as he went on, it just literally got worse and worse, and I could tell this was going to get blown up even further the more that he tweeted. And I guess if anything good comes from this, hopefully it is just that, yeah, Andy and all of the people on the community team just kind of understand that venting on Twitter is never going to result in a good thing. It's only going to piss people off. So while this was very frustrating, hopefully they at least learn that this is definitely not the way to go about it. So anyway, now that you guys are kind of filled in on the situation, I wanted to talk about how I think EA can go about fixing this. There is a genuine mistrust and a bit of a disconnect at the moment between, you know, the dev team and the community, and that is never a good thing for a game. You obviously need to have sort of a tight bond and connection between the developers and the player base. If we trust trust DICE, and if we're happy with what they're doing, we're all going to be happy. But if they're doing stuff that we're, all annoyed with, that's just going to result in an unhappy player base. So I do think that they need to address this, not necessarily this situation, but just essentially the entire launch and the state of the game at the moment, because I don't think this will be fixed by itself. Personally, I think EA needs to come out and make an actual statement, whether that be a blog post or just an image on Twitter with a lot of text, and it says, we apologize for the state of the game. The pandemic's made it hard. We just, things didn't go as planned, blah, 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 blah. Whatever their reasons are for the state of the game at the moment, they just need to address it rather than kind of sweeping it under the rug and just sort of acting like everything's fine. They keep tweeting on the main Battlefield account with like regular type of tweets that you would expect when the game's going well, or even the type of tweets that you'd kind of expect in the lead up to the game. It's almost weird that they're tweeting about like, here's how to play Conquest and stuff. We all know how to play Conquest. You don't need to be tweeting stuff like that and just sort of pretending that everything's good. And so I do think that they need to come out with a proper statement and actually, just apologize for the state of the game and the way that everything's gone, and let us know that they are listening to our feedback and all that kind of thing, and just show commitment that they are going to turn the game around, rather than just, pretending that the game is in a good state, because unfortunately it just isn't. Like I keep saying in these videos, I personally am having fun with the game still. I'm still enjoying it, but I think we all agree, even if it's your favorite game of all time, I think we can all agree that it is definitely not in a good state at the moment. And more than that, I think the state of the community is even worse than the state of the game, and that is something that definitely needs to be fixed, because without a community, the game is never going to succeed. They need to gain our trust, and they need to sort of gain our respect back, I guess you would say. And personally, the only way I can see that happening is if they actually come out and make a proper statement. It doesn't need to be anything spectacular. They just need to sort of acknowledge the state of the game and kind of let us know that they understand how everything's going at the moment, because it is, even though I'm sure they do internally, they're not showing that. And as a player, it is pretty frustrating to just see a tweet from the Battlefield account saying, here's how to play Conquest. Like, we know how to play Conquest. Unfortunately, the game isn't in the best state, so no one wants to play Conquest. So what are you going to say about, fixing the state of the game and stuff like that? I do get that most of those tweets are, scheduled stuff that they're trying to keep interactions up on the Twitter account and stuff like that. So I understand how that works, but in my opinion, they need to either make a statement or they need to stop tweeting. It's one or the other. You can't keep tweeting random little bits that no one cares about. All that's doing is just pissing the community off even further. And so I do think that, in the next couple of weeks, they really do need to come out and say something. I've seen this done plenty of times with different games, and it kind of wins back the respect of the community. I don't think it'll earn back the trust straight away. We need to see it in the game, but if they at least come out and say, look, we messed up, the game didn't launch well, COVID hit hard, it's the biggest game we've ever made, whatever. Just say whatever they need to say, but acknowledge the state of the game and let us know that you do hear us and you are committed to fixing the state of the game. I think that would go an incredibly long way to sort of getting this community back on the right track, because right now, like I said, the community is down very, very bad, and it is absolutely the last thing that this franchise needs at the moment. I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this though, guys. Definitely let me know down in the comments whether you agree or disagree with the fact that they probably need to make a statement, or whether you think that won't do anything at all. Obviously, they need to do it in game, so maybe you just think that a statement won't really work. But either way, I'm very keen to hear your thoughts. I'm an optimistic person, and I do think that over the course of this year, the game will be turned around, hopefully, but without them acknowledging that the state of the game isn't that great right now, it almost makes it feel like this is what they intend the game to be like, and that is definitely not making me too hopeful. So I do hope they come out soon and just sort of acknowledge it and let us know, give us a roadmap, give us an idea of what your plans are. But whether or not they do that, I guess we are just going to have to wait and see. That is going to do it for this one though, guys. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you guys are new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any upcoming Battlefield 2042 content. If you want to support the content that I make here on YouTube, then consider becoming a channel member. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.